How's it going, folks? I'm Cody Campbell with High Ground Gaming. Today we are unboxing and reviewing the HyperX ProCast XLR microphone. I'm going to start by walking you through the specs, then I'm going to open it up for you, let you take a look at what comes inside. After that, we'll go to the review portion where I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then we'll go to High Ground Gaming's final score. Stick around. So the HyperX ProCast has a gold sputtered large diaphragm condenser microphone. Most of HyperX's other microphones utilize a USB connection, so you can plug them straight into your computer and use them like that. This uses an XLR connection. Now, pro audio technicians swear by XLR that it is better than pretty much any USB connection out there. But that means that this does not have a preamp or an analog to digital converter built in. So you're gonna have to get that separately with a mixing board or something like that. If your computer's motherboard even has an XLR input, it's not gonna be a very good one, and I can promise you that no matter how good the microphone is, it's gonna sound terrible if you plug it straight in like that. It uses a cardioid polar pattern, which is for one person speaking directly into the microphone, and it's going to sort of block out sounds coming from other directions, so you can't really use this with a bunch of people. This is a one-person microphone. It uses a 48-volt phantom power supply. It has a switchable 80 Hz high-pass filter and a -10 decibels PAD. And then it also comes with a shock mount and a metal pop filter. That's about it for the specs, though. Let's open it up. All right, so we've got a quick start guide, some other paperwork right on top here. And then underneath we have the microphone. Here's that pop filter. As you can see, it's a nice black mesh. It's got the HyperX logo very discreetly embossed on the front there. And it looks like it's just gonna sort of clip into place. So that sounds pretty easy. Next up, we have the microphone itself. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat is that this is much heavier than most of HyperX's other microphones. Usually they utilize this same pill shape, but they're generally very light. This one has some weight to it, which I personally like. We've got the XLR output on the bottom there. This is a little mounting thing right here that you can use to attach it to a boom arm. We can see the actual microphone receiver in there. It looks very nice. It's got a gold coloring to it from the gold sputtering that's on there. And then the shock mount itself is on here. It's very secure, tight, not jangly like some other ones I've tested. And it looks like the pop filter actually just clicks onto the shock mount here, which is pretty cool. That means you can't really use the pop filter without the shock mount, but really there's no reason not to have the shock mount, so that seems like a cool design choice. And that's about it. It does not come with any sort of standing mount. It does not come with an XLR cable. You will have to purchase those sorts of things separately, and obviously it doesn't come with a boom arm. So the mic itself looks pretty good though. I'm gonna go ahead and hook this up. I'm gonna use it for a little bit, and we'll be right back with the review portion. Don't go anywhere. All right, folks, I've spent some time with the Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'm ready to talk about it. But first, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. All right, I'm gonna start out like I always do by talking about the build quality. We went over a lot of this in the unboxing, but I just wanna say again that this is a sturdy piece of equipment. It has weight to it. It feels heavy, which is always nice. That gives it a sense of quality. One of my only criticisms of HyperX's USB microphones is that they feel super light. They kind of feel like toys. That isn't to say that they don't sound good. Their audio quality is fine, but they just feel kind of chintzy, and this one does not have that issue. Also, a heavier cage around the diaphragm can also insulate sound a little bit better, so that is a good thing. As you can see, I've got it hooked up to a boom arm here. The shock mount is pretty nice. It works good. It eliminates a lot of the rumble and vibration that you would get from tapping on the desk and stuff like that. One thing I didn't notice during the unboxing is that this is actually fixed to the microphone. There are actually several screws around the edge that are actually bored into the microphone itself. So this is fully attached. You'd have to remove all those screws if you wanted to remove the shock mount, which I probably wouldn't recommend. I would just leave it. I wouldn't really buy this if you weren't planning on using the shock mount. The only thing I really have to say about the design is that it does have that gamery vibe like the Quadcast and the Quadcast S. It's got that sort of pill shape to it. It's got that red and black color scheme. It feels super gamery, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel like it's going to be a little divisive because this is essentially a pro grade microphone, and there aren't really any pro grade gamer microphones, which in one way makes this sort of one of a kind, but in another way makes it so that it doesn't really look like the quality that it is. So that's something that's going to be a little divisive for some people, I think. Now let's jump into the sound quality. So this thing sounds pretty good. I should start by saying that this is a condenser microphone. And if you don't know the difference between a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone, a condenser microphone is essentially more for just a studio environment and for like a speaking voice. So if you're doing Twitch streaming, if you're doing podcasting, if you're doing voiceover, if you're just narrating for like YouTube videos and stuff like that, a condenser mic is probably the way to go. But if you're going to be recording out and about, if you're going to be on a stage, if you're going to be singing, so your voice is going to get really loud and then really quiet and go back and forth, stuff like that, you're probably going to want a dynamic microphone, not a condenser microphone. But I did a fair amount of testing. I did some Twitch streaming using this, and I found that the sound quality was pretty good. Here's a quick recording. Here's a quick audio test for the HyperX ProCast. I've got this plugged into the Rodecaster Pro 2, which we recently reviewed, so be sure to check out that video if you're interested in that. Here's what it sounds like when I speak really loud, and here's what it sounds like when I speak really softly. I think the audio quality on this is pretty good overall. I think that 1-inch gold sputtered diaphragm is really putting in the work, but tell me what you think. So I think the audio was pretty great overall. You might have noticed that there were two sort of problems in that recording. The first was when I yelled, when I got really loud, it sort of bottomed out a little bit. And that's normal because, again, this is a condenser microphone. It's not made for you to suddenly shout into it. But if you are the kind of Twitch streamer or something like that who likes to get really enthusiastic and yell a lot during your streams, that doesn't mean that you can't make this microphone work. In fact, it has a -10 gain switch on the back, which you can actually use to make the microphone less sensitive. So if you'd like to get a little bit louder, it's not going to have that bottoming out effect. The other thing that you might notice about the audio from this microphone is that it tends to have a slight inclination towards lower tones. And what I mean by that is basically it makes my voice sound a little bit deeper than it actually is, which isn't inherently a terrible thing. Some people really like that sound. But if you're looking for a sort of perfect replication of your voice, then that enhanced low end is going to kind of mask the lower midtones just a tiny little bit. It's not a huge deal. In fact, the other switch that this has on it is a -80 hertz high pass filter, which actually gets rid of unwanted rumbling or low end. So it actually sort of balances the sound a little bit. I didn't really use it because I was okay with the low end being a little harsher, but it's cool that the only two weaknesses that I could find with the default setting on this have switches directly on the microphone that address them. It's also worth noting that both of those things I pointed out are super minor, and I'm just being nitpicky because this is kind of an expensive piece of equipment and I want to make sure people know everything about it before going in. All right, I was editing this video and I realized that I talked about the high pass filter and the -10 decibel PAD, but I didn't actually show any clips of what it sounds like. So I thought I'd splice this in real quick. This is me with both filters turned on. This is what it sounds like when I speak really loud. And this is what it sounds like when I speak very softly. That's about all the features though. Let's get down to the verdict. So the HyperX ProCast MSRP's at $249.99. That is a little bit on the pricey side. Entry-level XLR mics like the Blue Ember go for about $100. On the other hand, pro-grade mics like the Shure SM7B cost around $400. that puts it sort of in the higher end of a middle ground between the two, which is honestly a good place for it to be. There aren't a lot of great mics in that space, and I think this could be one. So we decided to give it a 4.5 out of 5. We really liked it. It has a couple of really nitpicky weaknesses. It's a little pricey. If it was cheaper, it would be an easier sell. But overall, we like it a lot. I think the main thing that people are going to find sort of divisive about this microphone is more to do with the design. Some people don't want to pay $250 for a piece of gamery looking gear. Other people like gamery looking gear and they want the best piece possible. And right now, I think this is it. But why don't you go ahead and drop down into the comments and let us know what you think. Do you think the HyperX ProCast is filling a good spot in the market, or do you think there's another microphone around that price point that you like better? While you're at it, please like and subscribe. We've got a lot more content coming really soon, and we'd hate for you to miss any of it. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Happy gaming.